Welcome back, folks, to Confederate Shop's YouTube channel. My name is Matt Miller, and I am the owner and proprietor of Confederateshop.com, and I have a couple items to tell you about to feature this week in our newsletter. As always, I usually feature a book. Now, this particular book this week is one in which I should have made a hidden gem months ago. And it's one I've been planning on doing for a while, and I finally have plenty in stock to tell you about it. It's called American Terrorists, Lincoln's Armies in the South by Michael Andrew Grissom. Now, if you have never heard of this subject before, let me fill you in. One of the main gripes that Southerners and Confederates have against the Lincoln administration during the War for Southern Independence is his total war policy, Lincoln's total war policy on the American South. Now, you've probably heard, if you're familiar with the subject, of Sherman's March to the Sea, or you've heard of Sheridan burning the Shenandoah Valley. Now, these things happen more later in the war, but many people don't understand that these kind of atrocities were happening all throughout the South during the 4 years of the war. There was a quote that this book highlighted, and I just wanted to read it because it really sums up the attitude of this particular subject. And this quote comes from Major James Austin Connolly of the United States Army. He says, "We'll burn every house, barn, church, and everything else we come to. We'll leave their families houseless and without food. Their towns will all be destroyed. And nothing but the most complete desolation will be found in our track." Here's another one. This one from William Sherman, the United States Army. You know who General Sherman was. "There is a class of people, men, women, and children, who must be killed or banished before you can hope for peace and order." So that about sums up what this book is going to talk about. It's going to talk about what these historical characters were describing in those quotes, about destroying, about looting, pillaging, raping, killing the civilian population, the terrorism that was subjected on the Southern people. And it's one thing that isn't really talked about in today's history books, and I've said this before on my channel. Sometimes just knowing the information is the only justice that the victims will have ever known or had. So this week, you can get this book, which is going to cover a vast variety of war crimes and incidents that occurred throughout the South from 1861 up until the end of the war. And when you buy this book this week, you're going to get a free copy of Defend Dixie. So let me tell you a little bit about Defend Dixie. I've talked about it in the past. This is one of my top sellers because I promote it so much, because I think it's a fantastic resource. It's only a 30-page booklet. It's a $6 booklet, so pretty good value when you purchase American Terrorists. But what makes this great is, in my opinion, this is probably the best boiled down synopsis or conclusion of why the South fought. It's probably the best explanation on why they did what they did, and it addresses some of the most talked about claims. And what I mean by that is, towards the end of the book, there are 12 claims, claims such as Robert E. Lee was a traitor, the North fought for freedom, the South fought for slavery, and each one of those claims, it gives you the proper response on how to address each of those claims that mostly our adversaries give. You know, you always hear folks talk about Alexander Stephens' cornerstone speech and how it defines the Confederacy, or you hear folks talk about the ordinances of secession and how they talk about slavery and therefore the war was entirely over slavery. This little booklet is going to tell you how to respond to those and is going to clearly show you how to refute it. So you're going to get this book when you buy American Terrorists. So two phenomenal, fantastic titles this week. Also, I still got my calendars, y'all, and I thought this was appropriate to talk about. Now, I've had some of my customers get offended because these calendars have Yankees in them. I get it, folks. Like, I totally get it. I didn't want to get these calendars anyway. It was just kind of a last-minute decision. I had people that said, "We want a Civil War calendar," and so I got them in. And look, this is what I did to mine. All right, I told you all I did this, but I really did. I put Lincoln horns, or I put horns on my Lincoln picture. All right, I mean, you can do that too. You can get creative. This is a conversation starter, all right? I had a little bobblehead for years of Lincoln with two horns on him in my shop, and that was probably the most triggering object that I've ever had in the shop, even more so than our t-shirts that say, you know, study American history, and it has the picture of the ANV flag. I mean, Lincoln with horns really gets people offended. It's because so many people, including myself, when you're younger, you're taught that these people are the next thing to Jesus Christ. I mean, they're almost American idols. And in reality, when you start to learn the truth that these individuals really aren't who you were taught they were, it can be devastating. And you kind of get emotional against it too. But American Terrorist is going to talk about all of those atrocities that Lincoln knew about. And not to make this video too long-winded, but previously I had talked about a story, I think it was from the book Cultures in Conflict, or it was War Crimes of Southern Civilians, but Lincoln frequented the War Department. It wasn't the War Department that was, you know, telling these generals to do all these things and just they knew about it, his administration just knew about it. No, Lincoln knew about it too. There was one particular story about General Turchin. He was a European immigrant, came over here. He was employed by the Federal Army. He was an officer in the Federal Army, and he was in Athens, Alabama. And he told his troops that he would turn his eyes and they could do whatever they wanted. And they did. As the story goes, which is a well-documented, cited source story, his troops ransacked the town. They raped, they pillaged, they stole, and it's all well-documented. Now, thankfully, another federal officer court-martialed him, right? Because what he was doing was horrible and it was wretched. So he got court-martialed. Well, when that court-martial finally reached President Abraham Lincoln's desk, Lincoln didn't reprimand him. He didn't fire him. He didn't demote him. He promoted him. Abraham Lincoln gave him a promotion when it got to his desk for doing all those things. So you want to tell me Lincoln didn't know about these things? Lincoln did know about these things. And this book is going to clearly show that too. So it was Lincoln's Army. You can get yourself a copy of this calendar. I'm promoting this because I still have some I need to sell. And after 2025, I can't sell them. So get yourself a copy now while you can. And like I said, you get a copy of Defend Dixie when you purchase American Terrorists. And also too, I've got a brand new lighter. I haven't had them for a while, so it's not technically brand new. Rebel Till the End. It's pretty lighter, similar to my Rebel lighter. So I'll probably have both of these on sale. I'm probably going to do a special on both of these. Get both of these for, $14.99 or something like that. But these are pretty cool lighters. Let's see if I still know how to do my trick. There we go. Learned that a long time ago. So anyway, y'all, thank you so much for supporting my work here on ConfederateShop.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something. But like I said, you can learn a lot more and all these great books that we sell, and you can get a great deal this weekend.